first day on the floor, I talked a lot about whether or not we'd see leadership from the majority party, and in my opinion, we've not seen that. You know, we're just finishing up going through our first funnel week, and I don't think that we've really seen a lot happen in this session so far. For example, on immigration, the Democrats' plan was a news conference, and they handed out press releases, and at the end of the day, all they really ended up with, as far as I'm concerned, is really nothing on the Senate side for anything to do with immigration. On the House side, they managed to do something, and it ended up to be pretty much a fluffy piece of legislation that only included photo ID for potential workers. And I would talk for just a second about if you recall, earlier this session we talked about the plan that Republicans had. It was a comprehensive plan that actually was a 13-part plan. We gave all of you a copy of that really went through and got some meat in the immigration law. And it looks to me like, unless something big happens between now and the end of the session, that we're going to go through this session and there's going to be no leadership on illegal immigration in the state of Iowa. And I think that's a concern by a lot of Iowa citizens. Other areas that I believe that we've not really done anything on, again, we've failed in, the majority parties failed in their leadership on this, is we have no true standards in education. You know, a bill was passed out last week where they actually went to the level of telling teachers and school districts what to teach, but we still see no standards. We're still the only state in the nation that has no classroom standards, and I think that's a terrible failure. I really do. Talked a little bit about immigration earlier. There's definitely been no true help for the middle class on affordable health insurance. Senator Hatch has a bill that I don't know whether or not anything will happen from that. And I believe there's also now a new bill in the House on health care. The reality of it is that if we're going to do something about affordability on health care, for the last couple of years, I've talked a lot about two bills that I'd like to see, and I think they definitely would help in this area. One is that we have the bill that would promote the health savings accounts, that would give people an opportunity to front fill their health savings accounts. And the other bill is we have a bill that deals with tax credits for small employers that offer health insurance, or we would begin offering health insurance for their employees. I think those are two key pieces of legislation that would move us forward on low-cost health insurance. We continue to offer ideas that would help taxpayers, and I think those health care ideas are very, very important. Generally, the response from the majority party is, well, let's wait around and see what happens. And, you know, we're about halfway through the session here, and we continue to wait around to see what happens. So that's not leadership, and that's not going to get results that Iowa folks expect in this session. With that, I'd take some questions about other issues, if you'd like to, or issues on things that I've talked about.
You were among those who voted for the Microsoft bill. Now it is coming under fire in a series of advertisements. Representative Grant's had some things to say about it today. Do you regret voting for it?
As of right now, no, I do not. I think that you know, I know there are those out there that are critical of the bill, and I know that there have been a lot of things that have been done from an economic development standpoint that people are critical of, and I think that we have seen this last year and so far this year where we continue to poke sticks in the eyes of business in the state of Iowa, and on issues like right to work issues, work comp issues, mandates on health insurance, and so I'm supportive of business and done.
The immigration reform bill, which came out of a House committee, included the charge of perjury against a business that knowingly hires an illegal, and the fine is $7,500 and 5 years in prison. Is that not, in your view, enough?
In our view, and again, and if any of you need a copy of our plan that we opened up a few weeks ago here, it did have 13 points, and our actual penalty level detriment to closing the business down. And I definitely support that. I think if we give business the tools to make certain that they're hiring legal immigrants, we need to take it to the wall, and that would be to shut the business down once they have all those tools in place.
But you guys, forgive me, I didn't know that. I read it this morning. So, but part of your complaint about initially Democrats' plan was that it was punitive without assistance. And you're saying, yeah, but you would go as far as to shut a business down, which is far more punitive than what they're proposing.
That's correct. But again, I would say to you that we need to be certain that businesses have the tools in place to make certain that they are hiring legal employees. And if they knowingly hire illegal immigrants, then I think that we should take it to that point for that.
John, did you share concerns expressed by Senator Zahn about the ad, anti-smoking ad? Does that affect?
Oh, most certainly do. I do not believe that we should ever have a government agency advocating for an issue that's a policy issue, and that certainly has been a policy issue. It's been a big issue in this session. And so I think that the government agencies ought to do what they're there to assign to do. And when we're talking about the health department, for example, I think there are many issues in the state of Iowa dealing with health issues that they should be dealing with, and they should not be advocating for anything to do with policy issues, particularly a bill that's being dealt with in the legislature during that session.
Should that affect Thomas Layton's confirmation?
In my opinion, it's a reflection. He is the director, and it's a reflection on his leadership. Yes.
Will there be enough votes against him to block his confirmation?
As of right now, his confirmation has not been brought up, and it's because of the lack of votes to confirm.
So is the issue because that was, in fact, the number of bills, sir? I mean, it would seem that normally speaking, that something like secondhand smoking that would fall under the rubric of public health. I mean, if a cafe wasn't maintaining a bathroom and food standards or whatever, you'd close them down for safety reasons. I mean, one could argue certainly that secondhand smoke is that same kind of health risk. So, absent the debate at the Capitol,
but I
understand the history, but I mean, still, it would seem that public health would at least have a reason to close down somebody for allowing public smoking.
I would point out that the debate is not absent. The debate is present. We have a major piece of legislation that takes freedom away from the people in the state of Iowa. If I, as an individual, decide I want to go into business A or business B, and I know the business A, there's smoke in there, and in business B, they do not smoke in there, I think I should have the right to decide, one, which business I go into, and as a business owner, I also think that I should have a right to decide what type of services I offer to the people that frequent my place. So you can talk about absence of the debate, but that's not realistic. The realistic point is the debate that was there, and there was a very, very important bill that was being run in the legislature.
Just so I understand, there aren't 4 members of your caucus that would be willing to support the confirmation.
We continue to talk about it in caucus, and as of right now, the votes are not there.
Do you see any scenario by which the legislature would step in and force the Racing and Gaming Commission to consider issuing new licenses? This morning, the commission decided that such a decision was at least a year away.
I hear no conversation in the legislature about the legislature stepping in and telling the Gaming and Racing Commission how to do their job. So if that came about, it would be something that would come up in the future. I've not had any conversation about that, and I certainly would not support that.
There was a bill filed by several members from your caucus seeking an immediate moratorium.
That's correct.
That seems like...
Well, yeah, and what I'm talking about here is I think that it's important that we understand that it's not our job to decide that there will be an expansion of gaming. If and you're 100% right, Rod, there was a bill filed, and we have a handful of